So let's talk about dominant motion. Now, I know I've spoken about dominant motion in many other lessons, but I want this to be like the definitive lesson chapter right now in which we just like completely clarify what dominant motion is. All right. Now, remember in the last chapter I was telling you how there is only one dominant chord per key. So if I'm in the key of F, my 5 chord, the C7 chord, is the dominant 7th chord. Okay, so let's just stay in the key of F for a second. Let's just, keep that in our mind. We're in the key of F. So the 5 dominant 7th chord is C7. 5 wants to resolve to 1. That is perhaps the strongest resolution in music. And the reason for that is the tritone that is found in the dominant 7th chord. So in C7, you see that E to B flat is a tritone. It's a halfway in the octave. Okay? Right? It's a halfway point in the octave. Right? That's a tritone. That interval is a tritone. A tritone is an interval. All right? Using tritone substitution and whatnot, that is playing chords, but it's based upon this distance and this interval. All right, so anyway, there is my tritone. I can put a C down here. That wants to resolve to, you can hear it's very strong. That is a supernatural resolution for us to hear. Okay, not supernatural, but it's really a very natural resolution to hear. All right, so you see that the 3rd of the C moves up to the root of the F, and the 7th of the C moves down to the 3rd. Okay? We could also go like that as well. The 3rd can become the 7th, and the 7th becomes the 3rd for an F major 7, if I'm playing major 7th chords. All right, so that 5 chord wants to resolve to the 1 chord. Okay, so C7 resolving to F. If I'm in the key of C, G7 wants to resolve to C. 5 chord wants to resolve to 1. Okay, so whatever key you're in, the 5 chord is always going to want to resolve to the 1 chord. Okay, and remember, like I said, there's only one dominant chord per key. Right? Now, this is where it gets tricky. Let's say I'm in the key of F, right? I'm playing all my diatonic 7th chords, but then I do something like this, A7. This A dominant 7th chord is not diatonic to the key of F because I have the C sharp in there. C sharp is not found in the F major scale. So this is a non-diatonic chord. Right? This is a dominant 7th chord. Right? Now, this dominant 7th chord is borrowed for a minute, okay, from what key? Now this is where you got to really start to like work on your theory. You can do this away from the piano. But it's borrowed from, well, you got to think what key has A7 as the 5-7 chord. There's only one key that has A7, all right? And that would be key of D. So A7 wants to resolve to D. And I could go to D major if I wanted to move into major, or go to D minor. And now this becomes dominant motion, moving to now what we would consider the 6th chord. Because remember now, this D minor is still diatonic to the key of F, okay? The A7 is not, but the D minor is, right? Now, I know this might be a little bit confusing, but let's talk about why we have these dominant motion chords, right? These 5-7 of chords, okay? And that's what we would call that. We call that 5-7 of 6. The reason that we have it is because if we were to use only diatonic chords, we could only use 7 chords per key, right? And so like if we're in the key of F, unless we're going to modulate to a different key, and we want to stay in the key of F to begin and end the song, unless we're moving to a different key, we only have 7 chords to choose from. So using those 7 chords, believe me, especially, once you start getting into styles of music like jazz, it becomes increasingly more difficult to create a composition that sounds interesting because you don't have a lot of chords to work with. So what composers do is they borrow chords from other keys. So what really happens is you want to look at a song like, okay, I'm in the key of F, right? So here I am, I'm in the key of F. Let me get into view here, right? But we start in F and we end in F, but a lot of times what will happen is we'll be in F and then, we move to a little pocket of, say, D major, and then we move to like G major, and we move to B flat. We can move around into different keys, okay? For instance, let's say I'm in F major, right? And then I go to F dominant 7th before I go to B flat major 7. Now B flat major 7, you can see all of these notes are diatonic to the key of F, right? So that's my 4 chord. However, that F dominant 7th chord there is not diatonic. So we've moved outside of the key of F major for a second, and instead we're kind of like in this pocket, this key center of B flat. So here I have my 1 chord, and then the F dominant 7th chord is my 5-7 of 4. Okay? What if I did something like this? My 1 chord, and then I go down to D7. Well, once again, with that F sharp, it's not diatonic to the key of F, so it's a 5 chord, and it's a 5 of what? 2. So I can go 1, 5 of 2 to 2. What if I did 1? So here I have my 1 chord, 5-7 of what? 3. Up to 3. 1, 5-7 of 4, up to 4. 1, 5-7 of 5, up to 5. 1, 5-7 of 6, up to 6. So you can have a 5-7 of moving to the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6 chords. Notice that I left out the 7 because we don't do this. We don't do 1, 5-7 of 6 to 6 minor 7 flat 5. I'm sorry, 5-7 of 7. Right? You don't have a 5-7 of 7 because it sounds a little bit weird. Right? It doesn't really quite work out all that well for the ears. Now we don't have to just do 5-7 of 1, 5-7 of 2, 5-7 of 3, 4, 5, or 6. We can move into other keys as well. So let's say I'm on F and I want to go to, like, I don't know, the key of D flat. Well, I can go to my A flat dominant 7th chord first and then move down to D flat, or just a plain old triad. Let's say I'm in F and I want to move to the key of B, B natural. I can go up to F sharp dominant 7th and then go to my B major 7 chord. Okay? So I can precede any chord with its dominant resolution. Okay? To find the dominant resolution, it's pretty simple. Let's say I want to go to, I don't know, E flat. What I do is I start on E flat and I count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half steps. Notice I am not counting the E flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty soon as you get better at this, you work with a circle of fifths, or you just practice it more and more, you'll start to know that, oh, okay, B flat is the 5 chord of E flat. So then I can go F major 7 to B flat dominant 7 to E flat major 7. And so you can see that I could start to create progressions by using that dominant motion. Okay? So to summarize, the dominant motion, you have just one dominant chord per key. So when you have a 5-7 of, all right, so like when I went to that B flat dominant 7th, it wants to take me to E flat. All right? I don't have to go to E flat. I could go to a different chord, but the point is that if I'm looking for where the target of that B flat 7 is, there's one major target. Okay, it's E flat. All right, so B flat 7 would naturally resolve to the E flat. Like I said, you don't have to go to E flat. You could go to like down to A7 and move down like that. Okay, but the point is that there is only one dominant chord per key. So this B flat 7 is being borrowed from the key of E flat. All right, so if I'm in F, I go to B flat dominant 7th. Let me just do block chords. All right, this wants to take me to E flat. All right. Well, what else do I want to say about dominant motion? I think we've covered pretty much all of it. You want to, like I said, what you should do at this point is start to quiz yourself. And you can do this away from the piano. You can just be in the car, wherever. All right? Figure out what is the 5-7 of a target. So just, you can do it with cards, or just, say the name of a note. So E, what's the 5-7 chord of it? B. Okay, so B7 leads to E. Major, minor, dominant. So B7 chord can take me to an E minor or to an E major. Oops. Or can take me to an E dominant 7th chord. Okay, so that dominant chord, the dominant motion, can lead to any other quality of chord, major, minor, dominant, anyway. Okay, so I think that's enough on the dominant motion, so it will make more sense as we go through some of these progressions. So I'll see you in the next chapter.